Hello from a very, very gloomy Sunday morning here in Berlin. If you've ever travelled by train in Germany before, you've probably seen these horrendously coloured bright green trains from the company Flixtrain. Obviously it's the same people that brought us Flixbus. For some reason I think they get away with it in the green, in the coach, better than they do in a train. It just looks terrible. But from the money they made in the buses, I guess, they've now branched into the train department. And any time I've ever heard anything from people travelling with this company, they've always said that it's been a nightmare. So they're basically competing with the national trains in Germany, the Deutsche Bahn, and they run some of the same routes but at a much lower price. Now with travel, as with everything, I guess you get what you pay for, but honestly some of the reviews of this company, like there's some people who are so clearly scarred for life and would never ever trust them, even if they have cheap fares, ever again. The reputation they have, I'd say, is really bad, from being late all the time to just being cancelled, dirty trains, stuff like that. But in the end, I guess price is king, and if they get you from A to B, then we can't have any complaints, right? Or maybe you can have some complaints. And that's what I'm going to do today, probably complain a lot. Today I'm going to be riding the longest journey on the Flixtrain network from the northeast of Germany in Berlin, here in the capital, all the way down to the southwest by the Swiss border and go to Basel. If you book this route far enough in advance, you can go from Berlin to Basel for like 8 or 9 euros, which I think is incredible value. But today we're going to see just how bad can they be, is the reputation deserved, and how wrong can things go on my journey from Berlin to Basel. Okay, let's go see where our platform is and how late our train is. Berlin Hauptbahnhof is a station that I never have enjoyed coming to. No matter how many times I come here, I always find it confusing. I don't really know where to go. It doesn't make sense to me. In keeping with the advice from this departure board, I made my way to platform 3, only to be greeted by this screen which, despite showing 2 trains that were actually scheduled to leave after mine, did not show my train. My first thought for some guidance was the Flixtrain app. Okay, and as expected, we have our first delayed by 15 minutes. It's okay, we're all grown adults here. I'm not going to give them a bad review of a 15 minutes delay. It's not like Deutsche Bahn has never had a 15-minute delay before. And I think you'd probably be lucky to get a Deutsche Bahn ticket on this route for like 3 times the price of the 8 euros that you can get this for. So right now we're just going to stay calm and play the waiting game, I guess.
10:43 to Ostseebahnweg via Straße.
Okay, so I've waited the 15 minutes. It's now over 15 minutes late and the next train has come to the platform. And I'm just jealously watching everybody get onto the nice, clean Deutsche Bahn train, wondering what awaits me when the Green Goblin finally arrives, if it does arrive. Okay, this is a good one. So I'm on the platform now, where there's literally another train that's come because our train isn't coming, and I thought, I wonder if they've updated the delay on the app, and they haven't. It still says 15 minutes late, which they've changed to saying on time. Instead of before when it said 11:44 late, now it says 11:44 on time. I'm losing the faith, man. I'm losing the faith. Update number 8000. So we've gone off the screen again, but I'm going to cut them some slack because the 2 trains that have replaced us on the screen are from the normal train company here in Germany, and they both show 20-minute delays. And also this one that came here ages ago now, it still hasn't gone, and they've just done an announcement saying that it's going to be delayed by another 10 minutes. And I mean, it's literally here and everyone's just got on and they're waiting. So it's obviously not a good day on the German rails today, and I'm going to cut Flixtrain some major slack because of that. But also I do kind of want to get to Basel like before, you know, before Christmas this year, so fingers crossed, or pressing the thumbs, as they say here. We just had the dreaded announcement that the platform has been changed, which is never fun. But hopefully it means it's actually on its way. It was coming to platform 3 and we've just got to go up a level to then go down to platform 5. Green with envy from watching other people get on their trains all morning, me and the other Flixtrain optimists made our way to the new platform, where I began to wonder if Flixtrain was all just a conspiracy invented by Deutsche Bahn to make themselves look good by comparison. The app is still saying on time, 15 minutes late, which is now 15 minutes ago, and it still hasn't come. What I wouldn't give to live my life with 50% of the optimism of the Flixtrain app. But then, did my eyes deceive me, or did something green this way come? Something very, very green. We abided by the standard German procedure of not queuing at all and blocking everybody by fighting with huge suitcases before I found my glorious reserved seat waiting for me. Okay, and we're off. It is about 12 minutes past 12, so about 45 minutes late. My first impression of the carriage was actually better than I had expected based on the reviews. It was clean enough, there was plenty of overhead space for my backpack, and the seats didn't seem too bad either. I had a lot of legroom and an annoyingly large fold-out table. Annoying because I was going to bring my laptop to do some editing on this trip, ultimately deciding, however, to leave it behind, assuming it wouldn't fit on the Flixtrain tables, which I could now see that it definitely would have done. The only things I was wondering at this stage were if there was a reason for the ceiling to be so wavy, and if there was a reason for me to be sat in front of 2 bin bags. And with that, we absolutely raced out of Berlin, at a rate which made the carriages really noisy and left little time to marvel at the majestic natural landscapes of Eastern Germany. We were late leaving for sure, but for me now the real question was, how late would we arrive in Basel? And how would this ultimately influence what review I give Flixtrain? At this point, I'll fill you in on the route. Starting in Berlin, our friendly neon locomotive makes 13 stops on the way to Basel, calling at Halle, Erfurt, Bad Hersfeld, Fulda, Frankfurt, Mannheim, Heidelberg, Wiesloch-Walldorf, Karlsruhe, Baden-Baden, Offenburg, Freiburg, and Weil am Rhein, before a brief sojourn over the border into the land of chocolate, cheese, and unscrupulous financial institutions, and its final destination of Basel Badischer Bahnhof, covering about 900 kilometers of God's green earth in just 7.5 hours. So we just left our first stop of the day, which was Halle. We only left there about 40 minutes late, which shows that we are making time back up on the timetable. Like I said before, I think I'm going to cut them a lot of slack on the late departure from Berlin. I think they kind of got screwed over because they had like a normal delay, 15 minutes, not so bad, and then someone else used the platform, that big white train that was there, and then they were just sat there. They had some delay, some problem anyway, so then we lost our platform completely and had to wait for another one to come up. So the fact that we left 45 minutes late or 50 minutes late or whatever it was, I'm not really gonna hate them for that, but this is what I actually find interesting. So according to the Flixtrain app right now, we're gonna get to the penultimate stop, the second to last one, which is Weil am Rhein, just before the Swiss border, at 7:35. So we're going to be late there, they're estimating. But we're still going to make it to Basel at 7:15. So we're going to make it to the final stop before we make it to the second to last stop. This train can bend space and time to its will. And for that alone, I give it 5 stars. Whoa. That was a weird moment to go into a tunnel. After a brief stop in Erfurt, a gorgeous city that I've actually been to a few times before and would definitely recommend making an actual visit to, I sat back and enjoyed my day of watching the world go by, including a couple of small castles and ruins before making a start on today's sustenance and putting on my travel playlist, which predictably consists only of Green Day, Hank Green and Johnny Greenwood. And now for the main event. The moment you've all been waiting for, a word on the seat reservation situation on Flixtrain. As I said, by booking early enough, you can actually do this entire journey for €8.99. I, however, then paid an extra €20 for seat reservations, which is pretty stupid in hindsight. A normal seat reservation is about an extra €3, but they have these so-called premium seats for €5. Maybe this is why I had decent legroom and a bigger table than I expected, but it still didn't recline, and other than having 2 bin bags behind my seat, I couldn't actually see what was different about it. On the Flixtrain website, they also offer you something I'd never seen before, where you can pay another €15 to also reserve the seat next to you. They promise this as a kind of travel by yourself without anyone next to you thing, but when booking it, I was already obviously certain that if someone was stood in the aisle, I was never going to be so mean as to actually show them my receipt and refuse to let them sit there. I just wanted to take the chance that I could get these 2 to myself, so I could talk to the camera without so many people wondering why I'm so weird. And I guess the Flixtrain gods were shining upon me this day, because as it turned out, the entire journey long, nobody ever bothered me asking to sit there, even though I definitely would have said yes to it, and I had these 2 to myself the whole way. I wouldn't recommend doing the same though for just a normal journey. And even for me, it probably wasn't worth paying more than double the lowest fare for anyway. But I wanted to try it out since I'd never seen this idea by any other companies and I thought it was interesting. Kind of an introvert tax, I guess, although introverts are the ones who are absolutely not going to enforce this empty seat themselves, so I'm not really sure who this is aimed at. Apart from having to walk 3 carriages to find a toilet that wasn't out of order, and the fact that I washed my hands and then found out I had no paper towels, this next stretch was a relaxing one. with the post-Frankfurt dip in passenger numbers, the pre-Black Forest increase in green space outside, and the early evening sun contributing to a much improved atmosphere. I was able to squeeze in some German practice and get some new travel inspiration. And with that, we were fast approaching Freiburg, one of the last stops of the day, and for me, very much the thinking man's Basel. So a pretty amazing thing just happened. We just pulled out of Freiburg, only 7 minutes behind schedule. This is one of the last stations before we actually get to Basel, and I think it shows how good a job they've done. They're obviously busting a gut to get us all the way down to Switzerland in as good a time as possible, because we left Berlin 45 minutes late. We just left Freiburg 7 minutes late. We could be coming into Basel like pretty much on time. It's been such good vibes as well, like as soon as we got out of the kind of industrial part of Germany. Now it's warmer, it's sunnier, there's nicer landscapes outside, and we're actually way more on time. So as the day goes on, it's only getting better. Obviously I am still kind of looking forward to getting off the train. The seats aren't like that uncomfortable. They're not too bad to be sat here all day, but I would definitely like to just get off and stretch the legs for a bit. As luck would have it, that's just what I was about to do, because with that border crossing done, we had reached the green grass of home, if your home happens to be in Switzerland. You know what? I'm kind of sad. I just kind of felt like that seat was going to be my home forever. You know, at a certain point of not standing up again, I guess it just feels like home. Maybe that means I got lucky. Probably it's just random how bad it is on any given day, I guess. So what did I think of Flixtrain? Would I give it one of those terrible reviews? Absolutely not. A little bit chaotic at the beginning, but I think if you have no time pressure, like me today, if it doesn't really matter if you're a bit late, that helps with the stress. And then in the end, so I checked when we got off in Basel, we were exactly 5 minutes late. And I think for a 7.5 hour journey, that started off chaotically. I mean, you can't really complain too much about that. The carriages aren't as nice or as modern as the ones on the ICE from Deutsche Bahn, but I don't think they need to be. I mean, for how cheap you can get this journey if you book early enough. I'd probably give it 5 stars, to be honest, considering the price. Yeah, there's no like restaurant car like there is on Deutsche Bahn, but I think you don't need it. If you just want to get around Germany cheaply, then yeah, I'd have no problem recommending it. It wasn't as bad as I thought, and we didn't have as disastrous a video as I thought, but that was good for me today. No, I enjoyed it. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.